moon's a little bright tonight, so I'm wearing these sunglasses, you see. So as a preparation here, we brought out this little step stool. You'll need this. It's in the refractor building against the wall when looking near the zenith with this telescope. And I've brought out a little table, and we'll see the use of that here in a minute. There are several tables in there that you can access. So the scope is in here under this fabric covered frame, and the key is to get the locks out of the lock box that I showed you earlier, and come and unlock the two locks that are on opposite caddy corner to one another to secure the scope. Now I've already unlocked it and returned the key to the box, and when you use this, you should unlock it, and the first thing you do after you unlock it is to return the key to the box, because you don't want to drive home and find out you've got the keys in your pocket and the next guy comes up and can't get in. It's going to be an unhappy situation. So I went ahead to avoid interrupting the video to go put the keys back. I've already unlocked it. The other thing to remember to do, and I have been guilty of not doing this, is when you remove the lock, go ahead and unlatch it, because you might forget, and then you try to pick up the building, the structure, and you can damage these hasps right there, like I did already. Fortunately, not there very badly, but so you just go around the four corners. And there are two locks and two carabiners. There we go. All right, so we got the latches off. We just lifted up at a good steep angle so it's riding on the wheels at the north end of the frame, and we have to clear an obstacle or two like that. Roll it out of the way so that you don't run into it when you're slewing. Then the next thing is we remove this cover, and that usually requires that we clear it up here, otherwise it won't come off. And we'll throw it up here on the tent. Remove the caps from the front, as well as the secondary cover, which I often forget, and so then I wonder why I can't see anything. Fortunately, I've done it enough times that it quickly comes back to me. This is the eyepiece adapter. If you're going to use 2-inch eyepieces, you take this out. If you're going to use 1 1/4 inch, you leave it in and just take that out. Put that on our table over here. There is also a cover in the mirror cell in here. So we have to get it out. And it's got a little Velcro here. I'm going to need to put another one on here. But the whole point of that is it's not actually got Velcro in here, but it just makes this small enough that it will stay in here and not fall out, which it wants to do. And then I put our shroud back in place, and then I like to use this little seat for this. We've got to plug it in the power right here. This green light tells you that this is charged, and the red light tells you it's going on through to the telescope. You can see this power cord comes around here, and when you're using the instrument, you need to be careful as it slews around. Oops. There we go. It tells us what systems it's running. We just hit enter. It's going to give us a solar warning about not looking at the sun through the telescope. We don't need to hear that. We push enter again. The location is remembered by the system every time I've used it. If it were not to be remembered, it's written in the user guide in the red brochure in there in the eyepiece box. But it's always remembered it for me, so we just hit enter. The time zone is -6, and by the way, that's regardless of whether it's daylight savings time or not. So it's remembered that. You just hit enter again. The date, it does not remember for some reason. Now, we've already put it in here today, but so it held on to it that long. But the way you enter numbers with this is with the keypad down here, and you just hit the number you want to go in there, and when you do, it will jump to the next number, and you hit that one and so forth. That's the way this entry process works. So we're good with the day, so we got to enter the time. Now, it never remembers the time, and I just get my cell phone out. It's 1:55. This is a 24-hour deal, so that's 13, and I put 56:00, and then I just wait for for the time on my cell phone to click over to 13:56, and when it does, I hit enter, and you're set to the second. Now, that's not all that important, obviously. I mean, literally, if you're off a minute, it just means the scope's going to be off a minute, which in the scheme of things is not really very big in terms of the go-to function. But at any rate, why not get it as accurate as you can? So we hit enter on that. Daylight savings time, this is where it asks about that. You say no and hit enter there. Or, well, you yes or no, depending on what it is, obviously. Begin alignment is going to be, it says yes or no. Well, the yes is a 1, no is a 2. So we hit yes. Bright star alignment, as you'll review the guide to the scope, the recommendation is to skip that. So what you do is you hit this up and down arrow keys down here, you hit that, and it'll take you to this 2-star alignment. That bright star alignment is really intended for complete novices that have no idea what's up in the sky in the way of bright stars, and it sort of helps you find the star by breaking the thing up into segments and so forth and so on. It's more complicated than just doing a 2-star alignment. And if you're using this instrument, you really ought to know a couple of bright stars and how to find them. So we'll hit enter there, and it'll suggest stars to use. So you just again use this up and down deal to thumb through the stars that it suggests are available, and then you pick one and you hit enter, and it'll say slew the scope to the star. Now you can do this one of two ways. You can manually slew the scope by just grabbing it and moving it where you want to do, like any other Dob. If you're going to do that, though, you need to make sure the clutches are just snug, not too tight, not too loose. There's one down here for the azimuth, and one up here for altitude. You get them set just right so that it moves smoothly, but there is some resistance because that's how the motor will root. I prefer to use the slew feature, and you just use this keypad. It's intuitive, and so forth. Okay, now and aim it at your star. Then turn on the reticle finder right here, and you've probably used these before, and you just look through here and align your star, get it finally aligned. And by the way, if you do this and it seems not to be moving, it's because the rate needs to be changed. And the way you change the slew rate is you hit this rate key and then the number you want. And I forget what it's, a 1 through 9 maybe it is. But usually, I think that's right, 1 through 9. You hit 9 and slew real fast, you hit 1 and it hardly slews at all. So if it doesn't move, that's what it is. Hit right, hit 9, and it'll slew. All right, so and then if you get to where you're getting close to it and you want to slow it down, hit right and hit, say, 4 works for me real well. And so anyway, you line it up, and when you've got it aligned, you hit enter. And that tells the system that you're pointing at the star that it suggested and that you selected. So then choose second star, and it goes through the same process. Gives you suggestions. You select the star you want to do by hitting enter, and this time it's going to slew there on its own. You don't have to do it. It's a little surprising to me that it doesn't get closer than it does. But you go through that same routine. It'll get in the neighborhood, and you'll go through that same routine of centering it up and then hitting enter. And you'll center it up and do all this, and when you're happy with it, you hit enter. And then what are you going to do? You're going to turn off the finder right then. This is like putting the keys up after you've undone the locks. After you found your second star and you've aligned it, turn this off to save the battery. So when the next guy comes up, the scope is functional, fully functional. All right, so we've been up here. It's early in the morning. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. We've knocked out the whole Herschel list in one night, and we're ready to shut it down and go home. So we hit the utility button. The utility button will bring up a number of menu items, one of which is park the scope, which I've already brought up here, and we just hit enter. And when it says park to home, and you say yes by hitting enter again, and heavens knows where it's going to go because we've confused it by pointing at various stars. We'll let it play out, hopefully.
Gonna get a cord wrap.
Yeah, I'm afraid that might happen. I'm going to stop it, and we will just take matters in our own hands here. Park scope, undo the clutches, hit enter, home position. Now it thinks it's at home. So now we can put the clutches back on. And we can cut the power off. Undo this. Place it in here. And then we just go backwards. Placing everything that we took off. Making sure not to forget the secondary. And by the way, cover. And by the way, very handy. And I was about to forget to point out, but to make this a lot easier at night, are these lights up here, and there's a light switch here, so you can flood the deck with red light to facilitate your shutdown, and for that matter, your startup, if it's dark. All right. I want to make sure that this is turned off. I can't see whether it's on or not. It's so bright, I guess. Okay. And just reversing the process. There we go. Yeah. In the vain hope, probably vain hope, to make it less likely for critters to get inside. I've never found any there. And then we replace the tent. And there's a little trick to this. And that is try to get this lined up with one and get it aligned. Once we've done that, the rest of it should fall into place without a great deal of trouble. And there we are. All we got to do now is put the locks and carabiners back on. Again, in opposite corners. Lock here. Carabiner here. Lock there. And we are done. Except now we've got to log out and check off the items that we did everything that we need to do. Turn the lights out. Okay.